DaRon Bland went from breaking NFL records and being the absolute king of the pick six to a player this front office might literally be forced to cut. We are watching a historic, terrifying collapse fueled by back-to-back years of brutal injuries, and now the entire fanbase is violently split on what to actually do with him. Is he secretly a massive liability on the outside, or is this entire social media narrative a gigantic lie hiding the real problem? Before we expose the absolute truth behind this massive defensive crisis, do me a huge favor and smash that like button, share this video with your friends, and subscribe to the channel so we can keep bringing you the hard-hitting facts. The drama surrounding DaRon Bland is reaching an absolute boiling point right now, and the sheer amount of fiction being passed around as fact on social media is driving me completely crazy. I am seeing takes everywhere claiming that he was only ever a decent player when he was hiding in the slot, and that he has never had what it takes to survive as a true boundary corner. But seriously, are we really about to give up on a historic, game-changing playmaker just because the defensive scheme was a mess last year and his body unfortunately gave out? We need to separate the emotion from the reality. We have to look at exactly where he has been lining up on the field, and more importantly, how he has actually performed in those specific coverage alignments. When you dive into the advanced analytics, specifically the positional charting from Pro Football Focus, they break a defender's snaps down into 5 distinct categories. You have the defensive line, which usually just means a corner is creeping up to the edge to show a blitz. You have the box, which is heavy linebacker territory or goal line packages, but also includes a lot of dirty work for a nickel corner. Then you have the true slot, which is your traditional nickel role playing off the line but inside the numbers. Finally, you have the wide, outside boundary corner spot, and the free safety role. For all intents and purposes, when we evaluate a cornerback, we are looking at a strict division between outside boundary snaps and everything else, which essentially bundles into the nickel role. Let's look at the actual facts of where DaRon Bland has been deployed, starting with the disastrous 2025 campaign. Despite the narrative that he's a slot guy, just under 60% of his total snaps came on the absolute outside as a wide corner. If we rewind to 2024, the numbers are even more overwhelming. He had exactly one single snap up on the defensive line, and a staggering 91.7% of his entire workload was spent strictly on the outside. He was, by every definition of the word, a perimeter boundary cornerback. If we go back to that magical, legendary 2023 season, the year he became the undisputed pick-six king of the NFL, the story is exactly the same. Almost 75% of his snaps were taken as a wide corner. You actually have to go all the way back to 2022 to find the one single season where he played a heavily concentrated amount of nickel snaps. So let's permanently kill this myth right now. Outside of his rookie year, DaRon Bland has consistently and overwhelmingly been an outside cornerback. That is his primary job. Now, looking ahead, we know Caleb Downs is going to step in and absorb a massive chunk of those nickel duties anyway, so that interior job isn't even available for Bland to take. So, I need to hear from every single one of you right now. This is our question of the day. In a perfect world where everyone is fully healthy, where do you want DaRon Bland lining up? Drop an N for nickel or an O for outside down in the comments section right now. Just because a guy lines up in a certain spot doesn't automatically mean he is elite at it. We need to look at the raw coverage data. When you isolate the advanced metrics, stripping away the slot reps to look purely at his perimeter performance, the picture gets incredibly complicated. The 2023 season was nothing short of spectacular. Yes, the tape against the Seattle Seahawks was ugly, and watching DK Metcalf feast on him was a tough pill to swallow, but if you zoom out, the overall body of work was elite. He allowed a completion rate well under 60%. Did he give up some yardage? Sure, but part of that falls squarely on the shoulders of blown safety help. He pulled down 7 interceptions, rarely got beat deep, and was utterly dominant. But then we hit 2024, and the data gets a little murky. The rate-based numbers from his extremely limited time in the nickel that year look absolutely horrific on paper, giving up a flawless passer rating. But he was only targeted twice in that alignment. You can't evaluate a player based on a 2-throw sample size, so mathematically, we just have to throw that specific nickel data out the window. Then came the nightmare of 2025. Honestly, he was a massive disappointment across the board, no matter where he lined up. The explosive, game-altering splash plays completely vanished. His yards allowed per target hovered around 8.6, which wasn't drastically different from 2023, but his completion percentage spiked significantly. The craziest part: his numbers in the nickel actually regressed to a point worse than his rookie year. Objectively speaking, he was technically a better inside corner in 2022 and 2025 than he was on the perimeter, but the truth is, he just played terribly everywhere last season. That game against the Arizona Cardinals haunts my nightmares. It was a total breakdown in fundamentals. Even if you argue he graded out slightly higher in the slot during his peak, scoring a 97 inside versus a 95 outside, you still want him on the perimeter. In the modern NFL, an elite boundary corner is infinitely more valuable to a defense than an elite slot guy. The hard reality is that this isn't a debate about his positional skill set. It is a debate about his physical survival. Foot injuries are the absolute worst enemy of a defensive back, and back-to-back seasons battling severe foot issues will ruin a career. You cannot cover elite speed when your base is compromised. The burning questions now are simple: can he finally get his body right? And can this fresh defensive philosophy, escaping the Matt Eberflus era and stepping into the new Christian Parker system, resurrect his confidence? Because if he can't stay on the field, it frankly does not matter if he plays inside, outside, or moves to wide receiver. This brings us to the most radioactive conversation happening right now: his contract and his immediate future. People are screaming from the rooftops to just trade him or cut him outright. We had this exact same exhausting conversation regarding Trayvon Diggs last year, though the organization undeniably views Diggs through a different lens. If we actually look at the financial math, a trade or release is incredibly messy. He carries a massive $17 million cap hit for this upcoming season. If you attempt to trade him right now, you are just swallowing financial poison. If you wait until after June 1st, you barely save $294,000. Cutting him outright is even worse, triggering an absolutely catastrophic negative $13 million in dead money. Furthermore, let's be fiercely logical. What rival general manager in their right mind is going to trade valuable draft capital and absorb a $13 million cash salary for a cornerback who has been plagued by foot injuries for 2 straight years and is coming off the worst statistical season of his life? There is zero trade market for him right now. Because of this financial gridlock, I firmly believe the front office will grit their teeth and keep him. They are going to bet on the Christian Parker defense fixing his technique, pray his foot heals, and hope he reverts to his 2023 superstar form. The real danger zone is 2027. The salary cap jump is minimal, and he is owed another $13 million in cash. But the team has a critical escape hatch. By March 17th, the 5th day of the new league year, they can release him and save massive money. The catch: the contract has strict injury guarantees. If he says his wrist is acting up and he needs a cleanup procedure, he fails the physical. If he fails the physical, you can't cut him without that money locking in as fully guaranteed. The front office specifically chose not to restructure his deal this year because they want to keep that escape door unlocked. They are putting him on notice. If we look ahead to 2027, will DaRon Bland even be on this roster, yes or no? If this experiment fails, the cornerback room is staring down the barrel of a complete rebuild. Outside of Caleb Downs, there isn't a single defensive back on this roster that inspires long-term confidence. Kobe Durant is playing on a cheap, $4 million, one-year Band-Aid deal. Devin Moore is a 4th-round flyer. Then you have a massive pile of unproven, raw talent desperately fighting for relevance, guys like Kalen Carson, Reddy Stewart, Triquez Bridges, Darian Kendrick, and the rest of the depth chart. The blunt truth is that half of these guys won't even survive training camp cuts unless injuries absolutely decimate the roster. We are all desperately rooting for DaRon Bland to bounce back and reclaim his throne. But if his feet fail him again, or if his confidence is truly broken, he will rocket to the very top of the chopping block, and this franchise will be forced into a devastating defensive rebuild.